bond does include the expenses of acquisition of land rights. I talked to bond counsel several weeks ago, before we went down this road, because I had that same concern, where I'm going, where am I getting it from?
So I've added in the amount of $50,000 covered by bond.
Yeah, and there's a proposed resolution attached to that. You all should have that.
Yeah, covered by bond or grant? For both.
Pardon me?
It's covered by bond and the grant, right?
It is covered by the bond. We could, you know, that.
Any question? Motion?
I'll motion.
Second? All in favor? Opposed?
No.
Opposed.
Committee report is coming around.
I'm sorry, can I just, I don't mean to interrupt the meeting, but can you just read off that last, because I didn't catch it.
Sure, we can read it for you, Mark. I'll just read it again. Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an easement agreement with Marie Russo and Pamela Russo as executrix of the estate of Victor Russo in the amount of $50,000 covered by bond and/or.
If it doesn't pass, it'll still go on the floor.
Yes, it still goes on the floor even with a negative resolution.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Anything else further for the special finance committee? All right, let's move on. Let's move on to resolution 133. This is regarding, this came out of laws and rules regarding the land bank.
Bill, did you sign for Debbie here?
Any
Like there's a blank.
questions?
Okay.
Any issues regarding the land bank? Do you want to talk about this, Brad? This came, or do you want to talk about this?
I think.
Who chaired the committee? You did, Brian. Neither one of you.
Yeah. Well,
And I see you voted no, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, the land bank simply duplicates, for the greater part, what we already do. It takes away the option of the city to get money back for taxes when they sell the thing. I mean, they can give the city some of the money back, but there's no guarantee that when they sell it, we're going to get our money back. It takes the rehabilitation of properties out of the private sector and puts it into a public sector. We have to fund the land bank, you know, so, I mean, at some future council, they may refuse to fund the land bank, and then everything that happens, you know, they'll end up having to need all the money in order to continue to finance and function. So, you know, the city will stop getting tax dollars back from properties that are foreclosed on. You know, they say that the advantages are they can acquire properties before we go through the foreclosure process. I mean, you know, there might be some, to my mind, there's some very slight advantages, but, you know, taking this, you know, as we've seen when we've done sales, you know, we take into account what the, you know, public, the general neighborhood wants to do. And in this case, once the land bank is constituted, the board will have the power to do what it wishes, regardless of what the common council thinks.
So it's out of our hands.
Out of our hands.
Like KLDC.
So,
Isn't that
I mean, I just, you know, for the small advantages, it just seems like there's a lot of big disadvantages. So, I'm still against it. I mean, if you want to send this back to committee and go over, you know, have a further discussion on it, I wouldn't see there anything wrong with that, but, you know, as it stands right now, I just don't see the advantages of the city putting this out there and having to spend money year after year to fund this land back.
No, okay. So you're recommending, so you're no voting or recommending it go back to committee?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, it was
To go back to committee.
Okay.
I don't think it was exhaustively explained. I mean, I took from it what I took from it. I know Debbie was working on this for a long time, and she's not going to be around tomorrow to vote one way or the other anyway.
Okay.
I know Brad obviously wasn't at the committee since, you know, so.
Well, I voted yes, but afterwards I looked at it a little more carefully, and I echo some of Brian's concerns. I would definitely be in favor of sending it back to the committee.
Okay.
Could I just point out something, a technical detail?
there are 9 residents appointed, 1 by each alderman, and 9 business owners appointed, 1 by each alderman. That's 18 votes. You have the control. So it's not out of your control. It's indirect, albeit indirect, but I think the other virtues of this or sins of it, I just want to point that out, that this is, the way these are structured is actually the council has the bulk of the appointments as opposed to anybody else. The others are what we call largely ex officio, the planner, the engineer, people who serve by virtue of their office.
I'm still not that crazy about
Yeah, well, I think there are others. There are some
private businessmen or private investors or homeowners taking a property and doing the best job that they see fit with it, as opposed to having a government agency which is doing rehab. I mean, just in my own experience, government agencies don't do as good a job as private sector. They don't do it as efficiently, and it takes away a certain amount of imagination that the private sector will bring to each individual property, as opposed to a corporate board looking at these pieces of land.
Okay. So we've got 4 people saying to go back. Brad, Nina.
Yeah, same thing, I voted for it, but I just think we're giving up too much of our own, and I understand what you're saying about the
There's another issue.
but that's in a roundabout way, and I don't feel we're directly involved enough in that.
I have no issue with this going back for additional work, but I just keep in mind that there are properties, and we're dealing with a couple of them now, that the council has indicated a desire to find somebody to rehabilitate them. We have no money to rehabilitate. I think the thrust of this is to try to set up a mechanism so that the city has the ability to take properties that people may not want. I mean, we have a couple of small offers that may be more than adequate for the one property that was a concern of the council. We have another offer that just has been halved for another parcel because there was a collapse of a derelict building to begin with, a tar paper shack. But the point is that we have these properties that we can't sell sometimes, and we're stuck. We have the, so I mean, I think that's the thrust of this, and this isn't an idea to sell some building on Broadway that can be rehabilitated by private businessman or a private businesswoman to use that for this. I think we have properties that, that we need to find a funding mechanism to deal with.
Yeah, what's different with the KLDC? Where is there overlap? It seems like there'd be some overlap. Is there any similarity?
Local Development Corporation is set up to lend money to business people for development. It doesn't lend money to homeowners. It was originally designed to lend the money. The original funding was something, a very old program called the Kingston Revolving Loan Fund. And that was, for example, I'll give you a perfect example, Merle Bornstein, the Armadillo, got money from the Revolving Loan Fund. So did many businesses. When I first came here 24 years ago, they were taking computers for security. And 5 years later, those computers were worth nothing. We transformed that by insisting that we take real estate interest. But over the years, a lot of money was loaned out. The KLDC is a lender of last resort. Valerie's had a loan. Fortunately, she passed away. She had a loan for both her restaurants. There was a loan, as you know, for Richters. That money was used to loan to businesses, in theory, to promote business, not to derelict buildings. This idea, and this is similar to an idea, by the way, that Jack Deegan, Joe's father, raised very early on with the mayor and I, about getting the local banks to work in a partnership with the city and say, look, you sell the building to the bank, let them rehabilitate it, sell the building, a house, and the city gets back what, its interest. We would essentially give the house, appraise it, say the house is worth $50,000, here, run that savings bank, you would rehabilitate it, sell it for $125,000. The problem with that is dealing with the reality of how much you can put into a house and how much it's going to be worth at the end. And that's a reality that still exists. So, if you want, Brent is here if you want any further discussion. But
Well,
if you're going to send it back, it's...
Yeah, I mean, if we send it back, then we can debate and then we can get all the answers to all these other issues, fine tune whatever we need to fine tune. So if the four people are still the same mindset, and Brad, Nina, I don't know what's your position for sending it back?
I'd like to see it sent back.
Okay. Nina, are you in agreement? There's 5 votes, so.
I thought it was a good idea, but if there are questions by other councilmen, no problem
Okay.
sending it back.
No, I'd like to
So-
look, I'm sorry.
So who's going to make the motion then tomorrow? Do you want to make it Brian or Brad, since it's from your committee, either one?
Yeah, I can make it.
Okay. Who's going to second it?
I'll second it.
All right. Great. And you want to say something else, Brad?
No, just that I want to look at the Empire State Development, their guidelines, and see, just understand them better, and maybe
Okay.
contact the regional office and just ask them, just do some research. Just use this month to research it and see if there's a way the guidelines as they're written can be something that's good for us, or if we can tweak it and customize it to Kingston, and then we'll be in a better place in a month from now, okay?
Makes sense. Marianne, did you have anything else?
I know there's
Oh,
some research
sorry.
too.
Yeah. Hold on. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No,
Okay, your hand is up. Okay, great. So then, that's that result. Move on. Resolution 134, this is the one to amend the charter to take the next steps to authorize a public referendum. I think I want to start off by saying that I want to congratulate the Public Safety General Government Committee. They've done obviously a lot of work, put a lot of time and effort into this, and this has been an ongoing issue. So good work, everyone. And the second thing is, I see that this is crafted as a resolution, not a local law. My understanding was that this is supposed to be a local law, and so there'll be a reading this month, and then a second reading, and then we'll vote on the second one. So if that's the case, it should, I would think it needs to be redone.
Yeah, it's my understanding of reading the resolution, it says resolution, it was drafted this way. And I've talked to several members of the committee. If the sense of it is that you want to go forward with the local law tomorrow, you'll have one to have the first reading. I'm a little concerned, and I don't care how you do this. I want to clarify something. The letter that came out, or the press release that came out from the water board, was not authorized by the mayor or voted on by the board to the best of the mayor's knowledge, and it does not represent his position on this issue. It simply does not.
Okay.
Joe to see.
So, I want to be clear that there's no,
There's a letter in Joe's.
it's my understanding from what the mayor said today, and he said it to several of the aldermen, that if this local law is passed, he will sign it. And there'll be a referendum, and the voters will decide what they want to do. So that said, I have two concerns. I just want to voice them. One is that while I've drafted a local law, and you can have it, it was done. This meeting was last week. And I had to, it's not my style to do stuff this fast. I think it's simple enough that we can do it, but in my general practice, I would have liked a little more time. That said, you could read it. The other issue I have, which I'll try to resolve before the vote, if you decide to have the first reading tomorrow, is there is a limitation on charter revisions that affect matters of statewide concern. Water supply is a matter of statewide concern. I need to nail that issue down, and just let me put a frame around it for you.
Well, why don't, and can I make a suggestion, instead of going through, because you need to resolve this issue, why don't you do your research and then come back and report to us instead of, I mean, you can certainly highlight it now, I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
No, I don't need to go into any more depth. There is a legal issue
So-
for me about the appropriateness, but I can deal with it however you wish.
Okay. I think
So we
that
can do that in between the readings.
Pardon me?
We can do that in between the readings of the law, right?
I would assume that I would have enough time to do it.
Okay.
And by the way, if it's an inappropriate subject, the state's going to, the question is the authority of the DEC. That's the short way to explain this. they have authority here they are the ultimate decision maker. And the water board could have said no, and then they would have never gotten a decision. But we could discuss this in more detail, because I have an example to give you where I think they would say, we don't care what the water board wants, we want you to sell water to somebody. And I can tell you, we'll talk about that.
So Andy, just to make sure I heard you correctly, the mayor will sign it if the council passes it, right?
You said that today?
And he will sign it in a timely fashion, take all the steps necessary so that there will be a public vote at the general election in November.
The law specifies the time in which he has to sign it.
Right.
And it's timely by law. He has has to hold a public hearing, and he's not opposing this.
No, I just want to make sure that he'll take all those steps within the time frame so that it can be voted on, assuming it passes out of the council.
To suggest otherwise would mean that he was secretly opposing it. He's not.
Okay. No, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. So then, what I'd like to do is, I know there will be a first and a second reading, but I'd just like to get a sense of where people stand. I know that there were 5 positive votes that came out of the council, or the committee report, the committee meeting. So why don't we just go around the room to say where we tentatively stand. So, okay.
Yes.
Mary Ann?
Yes.
Brian?
We should do the first reading, not just pass the resolution. We should probably go ahead with the reading of the...
No, I'm talking about, right, there's going to be a first reading tomorrow, and then there'll be...
yes. So it's clear what I'm saying yes to.
Yes.
We should read the local law tomorrow for the first time.
All right, and are you in favor of the local law?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
this whole thing has been going on. We might as well have all the citizens of Kingston have a right to come out and vote on this, rather than...
Is that what we're voting on right now?
I want to see if you're in favor of giving the public the right to vote on the charter amendment.
Then I am a yes.
You're a yes, okay.
It's been going around so much that I'm not sure what we're voting on right now. Okay, that's a yes.
Great. Brad?
Yeah, and I am a yes, and I want to just thank Andy for putting together that letter. It was very informative for our purposes of public safety.
Steve?
Absolutely, public cannot say this.
Okay, and I'm a yes as well. Great. Okay. So, with that, we have some more vouchers to sign. Just a few. Keep these in order, please. Oh, no, wait, there's 3 here. Never mind. Wait, no, these still have a few. It'll take a few minutes, and thank you, everyone. Good meeting.
I have a great
You're adjourned, Ed?
Yeah.